Hey everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo, and this is a very special video for you today. Let me introduce to you Mr. Atul Khekade. I can't say your last name. How did I do?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thank you so much for reaching out, and it's great to be on your YouTube channel and speak to your community.
Yeah, it's great. They really have been waiting a long time to hear from you, Atul. And if you don't know, Atul is from XinFin, and XinFin has a lot going on. And I'm really lucky today to have him bring us up to speed on, how this particular platform differentiates itself, what is going on with the protocol, and learning a little more about the digital token XDC, what the developments are. We're going to hear a little bit about this swappable feature that it has, and the roadmap, of course, going forward, and maybe some information that I was quite surprised in our beginning of the chat that will be able to be shared with you. So I think, yeah, Atul, just in terms of people who may not know what XinFin is, how do you explain what XinFin is to everybody?
Yeah. Hi everyone. This is I'm Atul Khekade. I'm the co-founder of XinFin Network, and I'm also I head the ecosystem development for the project. And XinFin as an idea, really came to us when I was coming from a successful implementation in the trade finance fraud prevention domain, where the multiple financial institutions, regulated financial institutions, and enterprises were looking at solving their trust issues when they were, working on syndication or multiple transactions. And we did actually put a network in place, right? So, however, the technology that is kind of available right now in the market, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or even Ripple, do not specifically solve some of these use cases that a specific industry is kind of looking for. And that is why we thought we'll basically make the network more suitable for this obvious market that's kind of coming up in the enterprise to solve enterprise and banking settlement as well as trust issues, to get them to work together and basically exchange the infinite values together. And that's why it became Exchange Infinite Network. We kind of shortened the name to make it XinFin, and that's how it got started.
So if you were to compare yourself to other platforms in the space, who would that be? Because I really want to understand how you differentiate yourself from other platforms. So who are you comparable to?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. So generically, I mean you could say that we are a scalable version of Ethereum, because our virtual machine is a fork of Ethereum virtual machine, and it's fine tuned to provide instant finality, 2,000 transactions per second, instant block confirmation, and much more scalability, reduction of fees. So in terms of, you can call layer 2 platforms, or Ethereum's Ethereum 2.0. That's something that you can call that's where the kind of at its network level, at low level, that's how you can position XinFin. But that's not the complete picture, right? Because I'm coming from a background where the specialization is everything. So if you're going to solve a big enough use case, right? Let's say just trade finance and its settlement, which is almost a $30 trillion market, then that market itself will demand its own purpose focused network. That's how you're going to fine tune each and every aspect of the network, whether it goes to governance of it, the consensus between nodes, or the interoperability with the messaging systems in the environment, in the legacy environment. So at low level, while the network has all these scalability features that otherwise an L2 layer 2 of Ethereum would have, at high level, the use case of the network is what really specializes itself, because it's focused and being fine tuned to that use case. just like you come from the Ripple world. I was an early Ripple supporter, of early Ripple holder. We were all happy when Ripple kind of jumped to those highs. So Ripple basically focuses on micropayments. Micropayments are currently not handled by Swift network, or none of the banks have any infrastructure for micropayments. That's where Ripple is kind of focusing on. And for us, the global trade, where commodities and stuff moves from one place to another, and there is a ton of financial institutions who kind of originate their own customers and then share that network and liquidity and syndicate it across banking partners. That functionality is also not, it's only probably 10% of that is handled by Swift right now, not all of it. Swift doesn't do invoices. Swift only does a very specific letter of credits, and it doesn't do all the instruments. So that specific use case eventually will go into specialization, and that's what at high level we're looking at. Two main things. One is the distribution of all these trade finance assets, which basically is what a smart contract does on our network, and the settlement of those trades using whether stable coins or XDC pegged stable coin, or whatever liquidity that you can hold on the platform. So that's my personal use case. I mean, there are other developer and applications that are built on it, like from educational tech domain to enterprise connectivity to IoT. So there are independent teams we are building on that. But I think, for me as a co-founder, and that's been our mission statement from day one, that we will make this network very focused to trade finance, infrastructure, and liquidity.
Do you have a good example of a customer right now that's using the platform that's solving a trade finance?
Yes. So, in the early part, when the network was kind of getting stabilized, we were working with clients such as Ramco, Air France, KLM, and we did a lot of POCs and pilots with them. But since 2019, we have really started to integrate real actual transactions on our mainnet. And one of the first integrations that is kind of live now is Validus. So Validus is a P2P trade finance company, which has its own license with MS Singapore. What they do is they originate the suppliers that work with either government-backed companies or the government companies or the government entities itself. And those suppliers, they meet their liquidity requirements by pulling in capital from P2P investors. So, that's one of the first integrations that's going live, that an originator like this can not just use the network functionality of smart contracts to basically give offline origination and online enforceability, both online and offline enforceability using smart contract, but also be able to pull liquidity from alternative investors using the protocol, which is kind of very DeFi space, and there's a lot of booming in the DeFi space, and there's a lot of stuff happening. But this is a real world implementation of DeFi. So that's the first one. And then there are at least 3 or 4 fintech originators that I cannot name right now because they are being integrated. And there are 2 banks, which are like everyone knows them. So we are expecting that some of these will go live before the end of this year. I mean, I like working 24/7, but I know the market will kind of slow down as we are going into the New Year's again,
right,
and the holiday season. So, but I'm expecting in the next 2 to 3 months, most of these early integrations will be live. So basically, what it does is alternative asset investors they participate in maintaining the XDC network, and the originators on the other side are bringing their offline origination, their country-specific origination on the platform, and all of them communicate with each other using a totally P2P model.
Wow, Atul, you're farther along in projects and in your execution than I realized. I really, really didn't know that you had that many customers that were actually that far along in the use case for being, announcing soon. We'll hear some really good stuff from you. Congratulations. What about the goals that you have for, let's say, give me a short-term goal, mid-range, and long-term goal.
Sure. I mean, as we're growing forward, and I think it was 1.5 years back since the mainnet has gone live, and the network is very stable now. There are not just masternode, but there are even standby masternodes that are maintaining the network. One of the first things that's a very high priority for us is the liquidity on the network, and you can see with the Bitfinex exchange listing XDC. I think the trades will be starting today or something. I don't really do trades or observe the market. I just make sure that its stuff is heading in that direction. So going high on liquidity is one of the first priority for us. XDC has to be really, really liquid for enterprises, family offices, alternative asset funds, even banks to participate in if they want to work on trade finance. So that's one of the first priority. And there are two things. One is that you need a really good exchange. Another is that you need to really incentivize the market makers and participants so that they increasingly use the network. So liquidity is one of the first priority for us. Second is actual using XDC as an infrastructure by the customer facing projects. So we have Bitfinex, which is, as I said, going live with its first integration, and our next few integrations scheduled to go live in the next couple of months as well. What we're looking at is two lines of growth. One is the organic one, which is what we are doing internally, but we have the ecosystem fund, where some part of the existing treasury tokens were kind of allocated. So we are looking at companies which are happy to integrate their backward settlement and trust infrastructure on the XDC network, so we could either participate in them, incentivize them, or even acquire a strategic stake in them. So those entities already have millions of customers, right? So if they just backward integrate with the infrastructure of XDC, that would basically mean that you achieved your scale inorganically as well.
Yeah, we know that liquidity hurdle a lot in the XRP world. It is a big one. So your Bitfinex announcement will really help, and I think it's going to attract those market makers to participate. So no doubt that was another big congratulations for you.
Thank you, and obviously, thanking all the community members here. But there's been a large XDC community and a lot of XRP community, kind of supports us. As I told you, I was, even before I started XinFin, I was the XRP guy myself, and because I realized that look, there's a huge market segment that no one else is addressing, not even Ripple. That's why we got XDC out there in the market. But again, thanking all this community for continuously backing us, for getting this sustainable development out. We're very old school people. I mean, I'm not 20-year-old. I used to be a programmer and developer when I was in my early 20s. But what we believe in is a phase-wise systematic development, that once you've really proven your core product, you can actually scale up exponentially with the underlying strong, foundational stickiness of your customers. This is what we want to achieve. And then, I just want to thank our community for continuously supporting us. Whether being patient. I know Tier 1 exchange was on the cards for a long time, but for us, we just make sure that we time these moves perfectly, because that's what actually will matter.
Yeah, it does. It's a step-by-step process, and you don't ever want to put the horse in front of the cart. But I think everyone is seeing your progress, and I think that has created a lot of interest. So explain the swappable feature, because I think that might be a little confusing for people.
Sure. So, one of the first, requirements, and it's also discussed very widely in the mainstream enterprise world and crypto world now, is interoperability, right? Mm-hmm. So now that the Ethereum network kind of exists with its own adoption, when you have your XDC mainnet, or where you have other networks out there, it's very important to have that compatibility or interoperability with other networks. So Ethereum is a network which has all its liquidity, DeFi, and you can change your USDC DAI from tokens to tokens. What the real intention of having XDCE, the ERC20 version of XDC mainnet token on Ethereum, is that to connect it with Ethereum ecosystem, so that anyone with it's their own tokens or USDC or USDT on Ethereum network should be able to quickly swap them to XDCE, not just XDCE, but if they want to swap it to the mainnet XDC tokens, and that's one of the coming developments as well, that now it will not be through any centrally controlled exchange like AlphaX. It will be a totally decentralized process to swap your XDCE to XDC and then back. And that gives us a huge interoperability with the Ethereum ecosystem, because we respect all these big projects that were 3 to 4 years in advance to us. We look up to them, and we make sure that we interoperate with them as well, and not just Ethereum. There's a lot of talk about the Cordite version, and there'll be an announcement about that as well. So the interoperability and the swappable feature will also be with the Corda network as well.
Yeah, so that leads into that next question. What's the difference between the XDC that you are representing and the XDC that we see on Cordite? What's going on there?
That was something interesting that happened, and everyone, we were kind of surprised the way XDC kind of came out in the newspapers and CoinDesk, and we thought, look, we're already partner of the Corda network, so what's really happening? So it appears that for some reason the team at Cordite Society missed that there was such a project, but they immediately our team started talking. They immediately rectified that. They recognized, they publicly announced that, and now the great part is we like their team so much, and they like us so much, that we are kind of working together. So XDC on Cordite will indeed be XDC of the XinFin, and while Cordite will have its own ticker, which will be separate from XDC. And this is like an official communication that will go out. I don't want to spoil the fun, prematurely before it goes out and tells people in detail how the integration and the interoperability will look like. But XDC is the XinFin network XDC. That's what it will be eventually.
So we're okay to talk about that, and we're okay to let that portion of it out.
Yeah, that portion of it can be out,
yeah,
and
but
again,
details will follow.
There'll be a public announcement, in detail public announcement for what kind of in the cooperation Cordite Society and XinFin is working on. Our teams already started working together. That's kind of has been a high priority for us as well, being really interoperable with the Corda ecosystem. But in terms of how the XDC that the Cordite announced look like, and what the XDC its own version of XDC will look like on Corda, is something that that will be publicly unveiled in the probably coming days or within a week.
Yeah, it's so exciting. So that's like congratulations number 3 for you in this. So you really have a lot going on. Your roadmap and anything you want to tell the community going forward, because I think, yeah, people who now are being introduced to your project for the first time, I think you've got their attention. So what's the roadmap look like, and what do you want to wrap up and tell us to be sure to get this message across?
Yeah, sure. And again, thanking the community for continuously backing us. So a larger part of our roadmap, as I told before, liquidity is a very high priority for us, because to support trade finance, liquidity, all the participating institutions that are coming to us are asking for liquidity as well. And currently we don't have it. We don't have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of XDC and the tokens that are flowing on the network. So that's something that we are building. Bitfinex listing was one of the first steps to ensure that going forward there'll be market makers incentivize them, or even better would be them independently market making XDC at their own, at their own in their own ways. And if there's a organic roadmap and there's an inorganic roadmap for us. So in organic roadmap, basically we are looking at driving adoption of the applications framework that's already deployed on the network. So for example, there's Bitfinex, which is like one of the biggest. That's my personal favorite use case. That's how I live for. That's how I wake up for. So Bitfinex is basically having enough originators and enough alternative asset investors, mainly institutional funds, to really work with each other, syndicate their transactions with each other on the XDC's mainnet, on the public network of XDC. That's one of the first integrations that we want to make really successful, at least with the first few originators that are going live. And some of those names will start popping up on the markets page of Bitfinex. And then there are thousands of those institutions. Once this is proven, scaling that is not a problem. And no one else can come in that market. It will be a huge entry barrier for anyone else to come in and disrupt that market in front of us, because we've done a lot of groundwork, hard work to really get that kind of standards and basics right. So Bitfinex as an application, making it successful organically is a kind of huge part of roadmap for us. Stable coins, ensuring that the stable coins which are coming up on the network through Glopians, which has a MAS transitory license for e-money, and that's also an announcement that I think some of the people already know, some of the community already knows, but that will be announced publicly as well. So ensuring that there's enough liquidity for the stable coins and there's enough ecosystem to support those stable coins. I mean, it should not be just one entity, but even a group of banks, institutions who should be able to work with it. So these two are really personal high favorite, because these two will make sure that the existing network can indeed be used for not just settlement, but even the distribution of finance assets between these originators and funders in totally P2P environment. And even we do 1% of this use case right, that's like really big for us. So that's a high part for our roadmap. But then there are the great thing about being a platform is that other use cases are also very, very compelling and strong. So Block Degree recently got its accreditation from Skills Connect Singapore, which is driven by Singapore government, and how that looks like will be announced in the next few days as well. But Block Degree is making its own strides in the edtech space. So education is a huge sector. One of the first things that we did when we were putting standards for these use cases is that, look, education is such a huge space that there are unicorns out there, right? So if you're building a framework for edtech institutions, you can actually get the real market, which kind of exists right now. It's not a use case that we're trying to invent, but it's already there. So Block Degree and scaling up of Block Degree through all these government participations is one of the priority use cases as well. My contract has its own development that's going on. Basically, it relates to enterprise connectivity, and there are use cases that are coming up. But as I said, high priority for us is putting trade finance at the leadership position in the market. That's organic for us. Inorganically, there are a lot of companies out there in the legacy market, and they're still working on the infrastructure that was built in the 1960s. For example, there are some companies in trade distribution space which still utilize the rails that were built on Swift network on the same messaging standards that were done in 1960s or something, right? So strategically either incentivizing them or participating in them to reverse integrate their infrastructure with XDC network gives us those kind of customers or utility in a very quick time. And that's part of an inorganic roadmap for us. Uh, I think pretty much these two is something that we have to repeat month by month, quarter by quarter. There's a reason why the roadmap on the side is not getting updated, but I think thanks to you, we'll probably make sure that whatever I have spoken now can be put on the website.
Yeah, and I think there is some truth that you need to stay flexible too, because this space is changing so fast, and there might be the opportunity to the left, but soon to the right, oh my gosh, there's something else that pops up. So if you have that flexibility to be able to move to supply that solution to many, many different use cases that come up, as long as you are providing that stability and that platform. And the XDC then is basically going to be one of the use case tokens to be able to have that interoperability among different countries that are working in different fiats. Is that correct?
Yes. XDC is pretty much what we are building the liquidity against in the fiat currencies.
Right. So you really see XDC as being a bridge currency, much like XRP is.
Yeah, I mean, look.
I'm not saying it's I'm not saying competition or anything, because you're solving a trade finance situation and you're going into another marketplace. I understand.
The way XRP works is XRP is focused, as we spoken before, on micropayment. So this, if you use a SWIFT network to send $10 or a $50 payment across borders, it is not absolutely not feasible. And that's what XRP does, and that's what it's focused on. Right. And it's absolutely great that we look up to XRP for what we have done. For us, in trade finance, it works rather differently. The way it works is your bank is originating an MSME case, right? An MSME finance, and it's distributing that to the network participants, to other banks. So, for example, if there's a letter of credit that's originated by one bank for a customer, that letter of credit can find its own liquidity in the banking network. And currently, you use SWIFT for that, and then you use off-chain kind of settlement channels. But believe me, those are not efficient. So, having XDC as a backbone, as the infrastructure backbone, and the stable coins deployed on it, we are basically able to do all that on XDC network itself. So, the use case kind of differs. XRP is for micropayments, and XDC does what trade finance market really lacks right now.
Yeah, I think that's just important to talk about, so that you've got two different communities here. You've got the XDC community that really understands what you're doing, and then you have this introduction to the XRP community that is just learning about your use case. So I think it's just interesting to see. I think XM Bank is one that does those letter of credits within trade finance and is using XRP. So there might be sometimes a little crossover, but as you mentioned, this space is so huge. This space is so big, and there's going to be a lot of solutions out there for different specific sectors, for sure. Yeah. So Atul,
going forward, the specialization is what will be important. When everything started, it was like everything can be done by Bitcoin. Then everything can be done by Ethereum. Ripple can do everything, but the market is so big that every use case has its own kind of specialization requirement, and as long as you cater to that specialization, I think one can become a leading player in that use case, in that industry.
Yeah, I totally agree. So just to wrap things up, we are right on time. We are at 29 minutes and 14 seconds. So anything you want to just finally say to the community before we say goodbye to each other?
I'm happy that the paths are kind of crossing for a lot of us together. So you are this channel is primarily for XRP community, and as I told you, even before I had initiated XinFin, I had XRP, right, and we all were smiling when the rates were going up and all. So the only thing that I want to say is, look, there's room for specialization, and that's what I think the community needs to know. There's no one thing, rule them all kind of thing. If you just do 1% or 5% of one use case really well, then you can be really, really successful in this market. We are the least kind of hype projects. We don't. We really put ourselves to the groundwork, and we make sure that what we're doing is proven at least certain scale before we take it to market. It's not like we are against hype, but there's a time to hype. If you're proven our core product and everyone knows that, look, this works, right? That's when you can go all in. But that's how some of these early projects, they need time for it, and it's the same thing for us. I think it would be same thing for XRP as well. But I think Tech 2021, 2022, we're pretty much geared up for a market which will be, the infrastructure for it will be run by the projects that we're working with.
That's good. I'm sure you're going to be one of the leaders in the space. I'm just sure of it. Atul, thank you so much. It was just a pleasure, and I am so glad that we connected. And I know that everybody is thankful that you took the time to give us this information. And I just wish you the very, very best. And I hope that we have a chance to talk sometime mid-2021 to get a new update from you. I wish you all the best. And yes, good luck to you. And please take care.
Thank you so much, Eri, and thank you so much for the community that has been requesting, you to get me on the interview. I think there would not be any better channel to really communicate if it's about these two communities. And thank you again. Have a great day, and have a great day, everyone. Of you watching out there.
All right, so Atul, hang on just a little bit. I'll go ahead and sign off on the video, and then I'll say goodbye to you. Just one moment. So thank you so much, everybody. And yes, sayonara for now. Bye-bye.